Hey everyone, and welcome back to Fact Check Simplified. Today, we're talking about that time when you downloaded a cool new app, and in its first act of friendship, it immediately betrayed you by sliding into the DMs of your grandma, your ex from 2009, and that one plumber whose number you saved as Leaky Sink Guy. Think of it as the world's worst startup pitch meeting gone global, where you're the venture capitalist, your contact list is the seed money, and you get absolutely zero equity. This is the story of how a single button, Find Your Friends, became the digital Trojan horse that declared war on personal privacy. And yes, we're about to oversimplify a complex vortex of dark patterns, predatory capitalism, and willful corporate negligence into a highly caffeinated rant. It's what we do before the inevitable corporate betrayal starts. If you enjoy this highly dramatic but fun version of modern facts, please hit that like and subscribe button. Seriously, it helps us pay the electric bill for our overpriced standing desks. All right, grab an iced latte. Things are about to get unnecessarily infuriating. It always starts so innocently. You're scrolling through an app store, a digital bazaar of infinite distractions, and you see it. The one. Maybe it's a productivity app that promises to organize your chaotic life into color-coded bliss. Maybe it has a social network dedicated to people who only take pictures of their artisanal Sordo starters. Or perhaps it's a game with cute, exploding cartoon animals. You download it. The icon appears on your screen, shimmering with the promise of a better, more connected, or at least less boring, existence. You tap it open. The splash screen is beautiful. The font choices, impeccable. The user interface is so clean, so minimalist, it feels like it was designed in a Scandinavian monastery. This isn't just an app, it's a lifestyle. It's a vibe. You begin the onboarding process, a series of cheerful, encouraging screens that feel less like a setup and more like a warm hug from a friendly robot. Welcome, it chirps. Let's get you started. You feel seen. You feel valued. You are the main character on a journey to digital self-improvement. And then it appears, usually on screen 3 or 4, right after you've created a username and password. It's a button. A big, friendly, reassuringly blue button. It doesn't look malicious. It has soft, rounded corners. It might even have a cute little icon of the silhouetted figures waving at each other. The text above it is pure, distilled optimism. Find your friends, or connect with people you know, or the emotionally devastating don't be lonely. See who's already here. This is the moment. This is the fork in the road. This is the single most brilliantly deceptive piece of user interface design in modern history. It is the world's friendliest Trojan horse, and it's sitting there, smiling, waiting for you to swing open the gates to your entire social life. The button is not presented as an option. It's framed as the essential next step. It's the key to unlocking the app's true potential. The alternative, a tiny, grayed out skip or not now link, is tucked away in a corner, practically whispering, PSSD, hey, click me if you want a lame, empty, and depressing experience. But you don't want that, do you? The psychological pressure is immense. The app has spent the last 30 seconds convincing you that connection is its sole purpose. To reject this button feels like rejecting the app's entire reason for being. It feels antisocial. It feels wrong. Who wouldn't want to find their friends? You came here for community, for connection, for Sordo pictures from people you tolerate. Of course you want to find your friends. So you do what any reasonable person would do. You tap the big, friendly, blue button. Cue the escalation. The moment your finger makes contact with that screen, a new, more official-looking pop-up appears. This one is from your phone's operating system, iOS or Android. They're both accomplices here. It says something cold and robotic-like. App name would like to access your contacts. It feels different. Less friendly. More legal. But you're already committed. You've already told the app you want to find your friends. Denying it now would be like inviting someone to a party and then locking the door when they ring the bell. It feels rude. So you tap allow, and that single, frictionless instant, the trap springs. That tap is the starting pistol for a high-speed digital heist. The app, which until now has been your cheerful best friend, morphs into a ruthlessly efficient data harvesting machine. It doesn't just peek at your contacts to see who's on the platform. Oh no, that would be far too simple, far too respectful. Instead, it inhales your entire address book. Every single entry. Your mom, your dad, your dentist, your boss. That person you went on one awkward date with 3 years ago. The emergency contact for your dog walker. Everyone. Their names, their phone numbers, their email addresses, and sometimes even their physical addresses and birthdays are vacuumed up and sent straight to the company's servers in a fraction of a second. You, the user, have just become an unpaid, unwitting data entry clerk for a corporation whose motives you know absolutely nothing about. You thought you were finding friends. What you were actually doing was handing over the keys to your entire social kingdom. This entire sequence is a masterpiece of manipulative design. It's a cause and effect chain built on a foundation of misdirection. Cause: a user is presented with a cheerful, low-friction button that promises a core social benefit. Effect: the user taps the button and approves a vague system permission, believing they are enabling a simple search function. Consequence: the app gains irrevocable access to their entire contact list, transforming a personal address book into a corporate asset ready for exploitation. The meta commentary here writes itself. The Find Your Friends button is not a feature designed for you, the user. It is a harvesting tool designed for the company, the business. It is the single most potent weapon in the arsenal of growth hacking, a strategy where user acquisition is pursued with the single-minded ferocity of a starved predator. Your convenience is the bait. The true purpose is to convert your personal relationships into marketing leads. The app has just tricked you into becoming its newest, most effective salesperson. And your entire social circle is about to become your sales territory. You, of course, see none of this. On your screen, the app is now cheerfully proclaiming, "We found 17 of your friends," and showing you their smiling faces. It feels like magic. It feels seamless. But behind the curtain, a digital monster is waking up. And it has just been fed the one thing it craves most, a fresh list of names to contact. So there you are, basking in the warm glow of digital connection. 17 of your friends are here. Amazing. The app is already a success. You feel a tiny dopamine hit, a sense of belonging. The app's friendly interface has done its job perfectly, but let's rewind just a few milliseconds to that cold, sterile pop-up from your phone's operating system. That brief, unskippable moment of legal friction. It's the most important part of this entire grift, and it's designed to be completely misunderstood. That little gray box, app name would like to access your contacts, is a masterpiece of weaponized ambiguity. It's the entire modern privacy debate condensed into 8 profoundly unhelpful words. It is, by design, a legal and psychological trap. First, notice the timing. The app doesn't hit you with this cold, robotic request up front. No, it spends a few screens buttering you up, showing you its fun personality, its sleek design. It waits until after you've enthusiastically tapped the big, beautiful Find Your Friends button. This isn't an accident. This is a classic psychological prime. You've already emotionally committed to the action. The app asked you, in its fun, friendly voice, "Want to find your friends?" You said yes. The gray box is just a boring administrative follow-up, a formality. To deny it now would be to contradict yourself. Then there's the wording, access. What does access mean? In a sane world, you'd assume it means the app will take a quick, temporary look at your contacts, cross-reference them with its user database, and show you the matches, a one-and-done deal. That is not what access means here. In the predatory dialect of Silicon Valley, access is a euphemism. It means copy, upload, store indefinitely, analyze, cross-reference with data from a dozen other sources, and use for any commercial purpose we can dream up later. That one word is a Pandora's box of privacy violations, and the system is engineered to make you open it without a second thought. This pop-up is the public-facing agent of a much larger, more sinister document, the privacy policy. You know, the one you agreed to. It's the hyperlink you breeze past when you sign up. The one connected to the little checkbox that said, "I have read and agreed to the terms of service." Let's be honest, nobody has read the terms of service. Not a single living soul outside of the legal department that wrote it. The world's longest EULA nobody read is a foundational document of the modern internet. A multi-thousand-word curse hidden in plain sight. It's a document longer than most classic novels, but with none of the compelling plot and all of the soul-crushing jargon. Buried deep within that unreadable wall of text, in Section 11, Subsection B, Paragraph 4, is the clause that truly defines what you just agreed to. It likely says something to the effect of, by granting contact access, you consent to our continuous or periodic uploading and storage of your address book on our servers, to help you connect with your friends and to improve our services. That last part, to improve our services, is the legal escape hatch for almost any kind of data exploitation. It's the corporate equivalent of "because I said so." It can mean anything. It can mean using your contacts to train an AI, selling aggregated data to third-party advertisers, or, most commonly, using it as a target list for a relentless, automated marketing campaign. You didn't consent to that. Not really. You consented to finding your friends. This is the very definition of tricked consent. It's a bait and switch executed at the speed of light. The user interface promises one thing, a simple, helpful feature, while the legal framework you've agreed to authorize is something else entirely. It's a perfectly legal scam. Let's trace this particular brand of corporate malpractice. It's a deviously clever chain of blame shifting. Cause the app knows it needs your contacts for its growth model. But platform rules from Apple and Google force it to ask for permission, effect, instead of providing clear, honest information. The app's designers create a user experience that pressures and primes the user into tapping allow on the vague system prompt. Consequence, the company gets the data it wants, and if anyone complains, they can point to that single tap as legally binding. Informed consent, hiding behind the very pop-up they designed to be misunderstood. They followed the rules. Technically, the meta commentary here is just chef's kiss. It's a beautiful, horrifying symphony of malicious compliance. The entire system is a performance. The app pretends to ask for permission, the user pretends to understand what they're agreeing to, and the platform holders, Apple and Google, pretend their flimsy pop-up is a robust privacy protection. Everyone plays their part in the grand theater of digital consent. The only loser is the user, who is now locked into a contract they never read, granting permissions they don't understand, to a company whose true intentions are deliberately obscured. You think you're in a relationship with the app, you feel like you're building a new digital home. But you're not, you're in a transaction. You are not the customer, you are the product being sold. And you've just provided the raw materials for free, the names and numbers of everyone you know. You were tricked, but in a way that is so systemic, so normalized, that it almost feels like your fault. You should have been more careful. You should have read the fine print. You should have known that the friendly blue button was a cleverly disguised sign here, in blood form, as you start happily scrolling through your new feed, adding the 17 friends the app so magically found for you. The company servers are already whirring. The data has been ingested. Algorithms are parsing the names, numbers, and emails. A new process is spinning up. The heist was a success. The goods have been secured. Now, it's time to use them. So, while you're busy choosing the perfect, ironically detached profile picture and crafting a bio that screams effortlessly cool, a storm is gathering on a server farm somewhere in Virginia. The data heist you unwittingly authorized is complete. Phase 2 is beginning. The cheerful, smiling mask of the app's user interface is irrelevant now. We are deep in the machine's belly, where the actual work gets done. And that work is monstrously efficient. The moment your contact list hit the server, it wasn't just stored, it was activated. Think of it as feeding a very hungry, very methodical beast. The spam kraken has awakened. This isn't some rogue employee manually sending out emails. No, this is a sophisticated, fully automated system of digital locusts, engineered for one purpose and one purpose only: relentless, viral expansion. It's a marvel of cold, calculating software engineering. First, your address book, a messy, beautifully human collection of names like Grandma, Do Not Answer Steve, and Pizza Place, is dumped into a digital funnel. An algorithm immediately gets to work sanitizing it. It standardizes phone numbers, corrects typos in email domains, and purges duplicates. It transforms your personal list into a clean, machine-readable dataset. Your life's social history is being prepped for industrial processing. It's the digital equivalent of an assembly line, only instead of car parts. It's sorting your friends, family, and professional acquaintances. Next, this freshly scrubbed list is slammed against the company's master user database. This is the crucial step. In milliseconds, the system performs a massive cross-reference. Every single contact you provided is checked. Are they already a user? If yes, they're tossed aside for now. The system is looking for fresh meat. It's hunting for the unconverted. Every name on your list that doesn't have an account is flagged, highlighted, and moved into a new column labeled targets. Your aunt who still uses a flip phone. Target. Your college roommate you haven't spoken to in a decade. Target. Your boss. Oh, definitely a target. This is where the impersonation begins. The system now enters the message crafting phase. It's not going to send a generic, corporate-sounding email. That's amateur hour. Instead, it's going to make the message look like it came directly from you. The script will pull your name from your new profile and insert it into a pre-written template. The result is a simple, devastatingly effective piece of social engineering. It will be something casual, something friendly, something that sounds just plausible enough to have been sent by you in a hurry. Hey, check out this new app. App name. I'm on it now. Thought you'd like it, malicious link. Or the even more common SMS variant, your name has invited you to connect on app name. See their profile here, malicious link, it's a ghost in your machine. A digital puppet master pulling your strings. You didn't write these messages, you didn't approve their content. You almost certainly didn't intend to blanket invite every single person you've ever met to a new app for cataloging decorative gourds. But that's what's about to happen. You clicked allow, and buried in the legal document you never read was the clause that gave the app the right to speak on your behalf. Let's be clear about the sheer, terrifying scale of this operation. In the time it took you to follow your first 3 recommended accounts, the Kraken has already prepared and queued hundreds of these personalized spam messages. It's not sending them one by one, it's firing them out in a single, massive, coordinated burst through sophisticated email servers and SMS gateways that can handle thousands of messages a minute. Your ghost-written endorsements are being blasted across the digital ether. This is the central, fraudulent transaction. Let's break down its brutal logic. Cause the company needs to acquire new users for less than $1 a piece to satisfy its venture capital overlords. Effect, they build an automated system to exploit the social trust inherent in a user's contact list, sending out mass invites that impersonate the user. Consequence, the user's social capital is spent without their permission, their reputation is put on the line, and their personal relationships are leveraged as a free marketing channel, turning friends into unwilling sales leads. The meta commentary is chilling. The app has successfully automated friendship. It has taken a fundamentally human interaction or recommendation and industrialized it. Your personal endorsement, a valuable unlimited resource, has been seized and infinitely replicated for corporate profit. It's the automation of trust, and it is a profound violation. You thought you were managing an app. You have become a broadcast node in a pyramid scheme. And you're the last one to know it's even happening. You see nothing. There's no send folder for you to check. There's no notification that says, by the way, we just texted your dentist pretending to be you. The entire operation is covert. It happens in the background, a silent, invisible plague of invitations unleashed from your phone. You are patient zero of a social contagion you started, and then, somewhere across the city, a phone buzzes, a screen lights up on a coffee table. Your aunt, who is peacefully watching her favorite crime procedural, picks up her phone. She sees a text message from you, or at least from your number. She squints at the screen, confused. Why on earth are you texting her at 9 p.m. about something called Vibagrid? It doesn't sound like you, but it has your name on it, and it has a link. The first missile from the spam Kraken has found its target. The fallout is about to begin. The text message lands. It sits on your aunt's screen, a glowing little rectangle of pure confusion. She doesn't tap the link. She's heard about scams. Instead, she does what any concerned relative would do. She calls you. Meanwhile, across the country, 100 other tiny, awkward social catastrophes are unfolding in parallel. The Kraken's missiles have landed, and the blast radius is your entire social graph. Let's watch the chaos bloom in a sterile corporate office. Your boss is in the middle of a budget meeting. His phone vibrates on the polished mahogany table. He glances at it. Annoyed at the interruption, he sees your name, expecting a work-related emergency. He subtly checks the message. Your name has invited you to join Snap. He frowns. Why are you sending him app invites during the most important meeting of the quarter? It's unprofessional. It's weird. He locks his phone, a small, negative mark now invisibly attached to your name in his mind. He has filed you under lax judgment. Miles away, your ex, the one you haven't spoken to since that spectacularly messy breakup, is on a date. Their phone buzzes. They see your name and their heart does a little unwelcome lurch. A text, after all this time, is it an apology, a desperate plea? They open it, trembling slightly. Hey, I'm on this new app called Zengerton. Thought you'd like it. The wave of emotion instantly curdles into a mixture of bewilderment and contempt. You broke their heart, and now you're sending them spam for a meditation app. They delete the message, and your number, for good this time. Simultaneously, your tech-savvy friend, the one who set up your Wi-Fi router, gets the invite. She doesn't even flinch. She's seen this a million times. She rolls her eyes and immediately texts you back. Pro tip, that new app you downloaded is scraping your contacts and spamming everyone. You're welcome. Back at your apartment, you're still curating your profile. You've finally chosen the perfect picture. You feel a sense of accomplishment. Then your phone buzzes. It's the text from your savvy friend. You read it. A cold knot forms in your stomach, scraping your contacts, spamming. That can't be right. The app was so friendly. Before you can even reply, your phone starts ringing. The caller ID says, "And Carol." Oh no, you answer, trying to sound cheerful. "Hey, and Carol. What's up?" Her voice is a cocktail of concern and suspicion. "Honey, is everything all right? I got a very strange text from you about something called a crypto pet. Did your phone get hacked by one of those Bitcoin people?" And there it is. The moment of dawning horror. It wasn't a hack. It was the app. That friendly blue button. That one-click allow. You weren't finding your friends. You were launching an unsolicited, deeply embarrassing marketing campaign aimed at every single person whose number you've ever saved. You start to stammer an explanation. No. It's this new app I downloaded. It must have sent that automatically. I'm so sorry. You sound guilty. You sound like you're making excuses, because you are. You're apologizing for a multi-million-dollar corporation's predatory growth strategy. The messages keep coming in. A text from your dentist's office. "Is this a legitimate appointment reminder service?" A message from a former colleague. "Lol, random. But okay." A group chat with your college friends explodes. "Who else got this weird invite from?" Your name? You are no longer enjoying a new app. You are now the unpaid, unwilling, and deeply mortified PR department for a company that just threw your reputation under the bus. This is the brilliant, sociopathic genius of the entire scheme. Let's map out the damage transfer. Cause the company wants to send spam, but knows that unsolicited corporate messages have a low open rate and can get them blacklisted. Effect: they co-opt your identity and social credibility, sending the spam from you, which dramatically increases the likelihood the message will be open and trusted. Consequence: when the recipients get annoyed or confused, their negative feelings are directed at you, the sender, not the invisible company pulling the strings. The company remains pristine, while your social standing takes the hit. This isn't just a side effect. It's the core design. The company has successfully outsourced its marketing and its reputational risk. They get all the upside of the new signups, and you get all the downside of the social awkwardness. You've become a human shield. Your relationships, built over years of trust and shared experience, have been stripped mined for a few cents worth of marketing value. The meta commentary is that this is the logical endpoint of a business culture that views users not as people, but as nodes in a network to be activated. Your friendship is a resource. Your trust is a currency, and you just gave it all away for free because of a well-designed button. You are now frantically typing apology texts, trying to explain the concept of contact scraping to your bewildered relatives, and feeling a profound sense of technological violation. You've been had. The app, your new best friend, wasn't a friend at all. It was a con artist in a beautifully designed suit, and it just picked the pockets of everyone you know. So you're sitting there, phone in hand, drowning in a sea of apology texts. You feel used. You feel tricked, and a single, burning question rises from the ashes of your social dignity. Why? Why would a company build its entire welcome experience around a landmine of social awkwardness? Why would they risk infuriating their brand new users, the very people they need to impress, within the first 5 minutes of downloading their app? Is it just a bug? A colossal oversight from a clumsy intern? Oh, you sweet, innocent summer child. This isn't a bug. It's the primary, mission-critical, alpha and omega feature. The spam you're now dealing with isn't an unfortunate side effect. It is the entire point of the operation. To understand this, we need to pull the camera way back from your personal catastrophe and look at the object of Silicon Valley's deepest, most pathological obsession. They call it the social graph. And tech companies crave your social graph more than a vampire craves a blood bank. And for far more sinister reasons. The term sounds technical and boring, but it's a concept of terrifying power. The social graph is not just your list of contacts. A simple list is a flat, dumb thing. The social graph is a living, breathing map of human connection. It doesn't just know that you know Aunt Carol. It knows how you're connected to her, who else you both know, who the most influential person in your family group is, and how quickly an idea or an app invitation can spread from you to your cousin to their entire bowling team. It is the blueprint of society. It's a diagram of power, influence, and trust. And whoever owns the most detailed version of that map wins. Why is this map so valuable? 3 apocalyptic reasons. First, network effects. You may have heard this buzzword. In simple terms, it means that the more people use a service, the more valuable it becomes for everyone. One person with a telephone is useless. 2 people with telephones have a network. 1 billion people with telephones have a global communication grid. This value doesn't grow linearly. It grows exponentially. Apps live and die by network effects. To achieve this, They can't just sign up random individuals. They need to capture entire clusters of friends, families, and colleagues all at once. Your contact list is the treasure map that shows them exactly where those clusters are. Spamming your whole list isn't a shot in the dark. It's a strategic carpet bombing campaign designed to onboard an entire social circle in one go. Second, data and the power of prediction. Owning the social graph is like owning a crystal ball. When you can see who is connected to whom, you can start to see the future. You can predict which trends will explode and which will fizzle out. You can identify the quiet, unassuming people who are actually super connectors. The social hubs whose endorsements matter most. This data is pure gold. It's used to build better recommendation engines, to target advertising with terrifying precision, and to keep users hooked by showing them an endless stream of content from people they actually know and trust. It's the difference between guessing what people want and knowing what they want, sometimes before they do. Third, and most importantly, defensibility. This is the big one. In the brutal world of tech, a good idea will be copied in about 6 weeks. The only way to build a lasting empire is to erect a moat around your business, a barrier so powerful that no competitor can cross it. A proprietary, locked-in social graph is the deepest, widest moat ever invented. Think about why it's so hard to leave Facebook, even if you hate it. It's not because the news feed is so compelling. It's because your entire life is on there. All your friends, your family photos, your event invitations, your memories. To leave is to commit social suicide. That's the power of a mature social graph. It creates lock-in. By tricking you into uploading your contacts, an app isn't just getting new leads, it's laying the very first bricks in its defensive wall, making it that much harder for you and your friends to ever leave. This brings us to the cold, hard logic of this whole invasive mess. Cause a tech company's survival and astronomical valuation depend on demonstrating exponential user growth and building a defensible moat. Effect, the company's leadership greenlights engineering and design strategies that prioritize the aggressive acquisition of the social graph above all other concerns, including user consent and privacy. Consequence, predatory features like the one you just experienced are not viewed as ethical failures, but as essential, non-negotiable tools for market dominance. The resulting user outrage is considered a small, manageable cost of doing business. The meta commentary here is that for the last 2 decades, the pursuit of the social graph has been the central religion of Silicon Valley. Founders and venture capitalists speak of it in hushed, reverent tones. It's the quest for the digital holy grail, the race to map every human relationship on the planet and monetize it. Your mortifying text to your ex wasn't a mistake, it was a calculated sacrifice on the altar of network effects. You, your aunt, and your boss are all just tiny data points in a much grander, more terrifying project, the complete quantification and commercialization of human society. And it all started with one friendly, blue button. So, this pathological obsession with mapping your social life, this quasi-religious quest for the social graph, doesn't just happen on its own. It has a name. It has a playbook. It has a priesthood of true believers. Welcome, my friends, to the immoral, high-octane, data-worshipping cult of growth hacking. The awkward spam texts you're now apologizing for are a sacred ritual in this religion, a testament to its one and only commandment, thou shalt grow. Growth hacking is not marketing. Marketing is what your dad did with newspaper ads and a firm handshake. Growth hacking is what happens when you give a data scientist, a behavioral psychologist, and a caffeinated coder a single, morally ambiguous objective: get more users by any means necessary. It's a discipline born from the crushing pressure of the Silicon Valley ecosystem, where startups with billion-dollar valuations have about 18 months to show exponential, hockey stick-shaped growth or die a quiet, unceremonious death. In this high-stakes environment, traditional rules don't apply. Ethics are a luxury. User satisfaction is secondary. The only thing that matters is the OMTM, the one metric that matters. For most new apps, that metric is daily active users, or the viral coefficient, that is how many new users each existing user generates. Your entire nuanced human experience with their product is flattened into a single number on a dashboard. Your job as a user is to make that number go up. How do they do it? Through a relentless, almost psychotic process of optimization. Growth hackers are obsessed with A/B testing. They will test everything. Should the invite friends button be blue or green? Green gets a 0.8% higher click-through rate. Green it is. Should the text say find your friends or see who's here? The second one creates more FOMO and drives 1.2% more contact uploads. Ship it. They will test. Dozens of variations of the spammy invite text your aunt received. Scientifically determining which combination of casual language and urgent call to action makes a recipient most likely to click before they realize it's automated spam. This is the world that gave us the infamous mantra, "Move fast and break things." When a traditional engineer says that, they're talking about code. When a growth hacker says it, the things they're breaking are social norms, user trust, and any lingering sense of privacy. Your personal relationships are just another system to be hacked, another inefficiency to be optimized. The holy grail of the growth hacker is the viral loop. This is the ultimate goal. A product with a perfect viral loop doesn't need a marketing budget. The marketing is baked directly into the product itself. The very act of using the app creates new users, who then use the app and create even more users. And so on, into infinity. It's a perpetual motion machine of user acquisition and the contact scraping, friend spamming feature we've been dissecting. It is the most perfect, most potent, most predatory example of a forced viral loop ever invented. It hijacks your social credibility and turns you, the user, into the engine of their growth. Let's dissect the growth hacker's calculus. It's a chillingly rational process. Cause, the startup, is bleeding money and under immense pressure from investors to show viral growth. Effect, a dedicated growth team is formed, and their compensation is tied directly to hitting user acquisition targets. They are empowered to experiment with the products designed to maximize virality. Consequence, the team designs and implements the contact hoovering onboarding flow. They A/B test it to perfection, discovering that while it might annoy 15% of users who will churn, the 85% who fall for it will generate so many new sign-ups that the net result is a massive win. For their one metric that matters. The user's annoyance is not an unforeseen consequence, it's an acceptable loss. It's a calculated variable in an equation for exponential growth. The meta commentary here is that growth hacking is a philosophy that actively sanitizes unethical behavior with the language of data and science. It's not tricking users, it's reducing friction in the sign-up funnel. It's not spamming your friends, it's optimizing the viral coefficient. It's not a profound violation of social trust. It's a successful experiment with a high conversion rate. This mindset explains everything. It explains the deceptive design, the hidden legal clauses, and the complete lack of remorse. The people who built this system don't think they did anything wrong. They think they did something brilliant. They found a clever, data-driven hack that unlocked explosive growth. They will be celebrated for it. They will get promotions. They will speak on panels at tech conferences about their genius growth strategy. So as you rate trying to explain to your boss that you didn't mean to invite him to a social network for cat lovers, remember this: you are not the victim of a mistake. You are the victim of a wildly successful experiment. The spam, the awkwardness, the violation, it's not a bug. It's the core feature of a machine fine-tuned for one purpose. And that machine is working exactly as intended. So, you've just been sacrificed on the altar of growth hacking. It was a successful, data-driven ritual that turned your social life into a marketing asset. But here's the thing about that ritual. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. The contact hoovering, friend spamming feature, as monstrous as it is, doesn't perform solo. It is merely the charismatic, psychopathic lead singer of a much larger, much more insidious rock band. And that band's name is Dark Patterns. A dark pattern is not just bad design. Bad design is a button that's hard to find. A dark pattern is a button that's designed to make you do something you wouldn't have done if you were thinking clearly and had all the information. It's a user interface that is intentionally built to be your adversary. It leverages every cognitive bias in the human brain: our impatience, our desire to fit in, our tendency to skim to trick us. The digital world is lousy with them. Our main feature, the Find Your Friend's Trojan horse, is the band's frontman, but let's meet the rest of the crew. They're all playing on this stage, on lead guitar, shredding your privacy. We have the privacy Zuckering. Yes, it is named after exactly who you think it is. This is the art of getting you to share way more information than you ever intended. Our contact uploading nightmare is a hall of fame. Example: you think you're performing a simple search. You are actually signing away your entire address book for permanent corporate use. It's a classic bait and switch where your privacy is the price, and the transaction is hidden in the fine print of a button's friendly name, playing the bass line. A low, persistent thrum of entrapment is the Roach Motel. This pattern is simple. It's incredibly easy to get into a situation, and obscenely difficult to get out of it. Think of the free trial that requires your credit card, and then makes you navigate a labyrinth of phone menus and retention specialists to cancel. In our story, uploading your contacts is a single, frictionless tap, but trying to get the company to delete those contacts. Good luck! You'll be digging through settings menus more complex than the tax code, only to find the option doesn't even exist. The data checks in, but it never checks out, on drums. Providing the anxiety-inducing beat is confirming. This is the passive-aggressive guilt trip of user interface design. It's when an app wants you to do something, like enable notifications, and it phrases the no option in a way that makes you feel like a moron. You'll see a big, bright button that says yes, keep me informed, and a tiny, gray link below it that says, no thanks. I enjoy being clueless and missing out. The skip button from our onboarding flow is a form of this. It's designed to make you feel like you're actively choosing a suboptimal, lonely experience, pressuring you toward the company's preferred choice. And let's not forget the forced action on keyboards, a pattern where you are required to do something you don't want to do to access something you do want. To get to the app's main features, you must go through the Find Friend screen. Sure, you can skip it, but they put that hurdle in your way, hoping you'll trip and fall into the data harvesting pit. This entire ensemble of manipulation works together in a horrifying symphony. Let us map the performance, cause a business goal, e.g. maximize data collection and viral sign-ups is prioritized over the user's right to make an informed choice. Effect, designers are tasked with creating a user flow that leverages dark patterns confirming to discourage skipping privacy zuckering, to obscure the true nature of the data grab, and the roach motel to ensure the data once given can never be retrieved. Consequence, the user is seamlessly guided through a series of manipulative micro-decisions that culminate in them taking a major action, uploading their contacts without ever having a clear, unbiased moment to consent. Their agency has been designed out of the process. The meta commentary here is that the very existence of a whole vocabulary to describe these techniques is the ultimate smoking gun. This isn't accidental, it's a science. There are books, blogs, and conference talks about how to implement these patterns effectively. It is a field of study dedicated to figuring out the most efficient way to betray a user's trust. On a massive scale, they test their deception to find out which lie is the most believable. So when you click that friendly blue button, you weren't just dealing with one bad apple. You were facing a coordinated assault by a whole band of bad design choices. Each one was carefully composed and rehearsed to lead you to the inevitable, spam-filled finale. You never stood a chance. The entire system was rigged from the start. A perfectly engineered piece of psychological warfare disguised as a user-friendly app. And this band has been on tour for a very, very long time. This band of dark patterns, this whole symphony of psychological tricks, has been on the road for years, playing sold-out stadiums of user data. But every legendary band has its origin story. Its first breakout hit that defined its sound for the genre of contact list spam as a service. That artist was LinkedIn. They were the pioneers. They were patient zero. Long before the slick, minimalist apps of today perfected the art, LinkedIn was the trailblazer that turned your professional address book into its own private, unsolicited marketing army. Let's journey back to the ancient past, the forgotten era of the early 2010s. The internet was a different place. LinkedIn was desperately trying to evolve from a static online resume repository into a true social network. To do that, it needed what all networks need: more people, connected more densely. It needed to conquer the social graph of the entire global workforce, and it found the key to that kingdom not on your phone, but in your email inbox. The scheme was deceptively simple, and for that reason, utterly brilliant. During its onboarding process and persistently thereafter, LinkedIn would offer to help you build your network. The pitch was irresistible. See which of your contacts are already on LinkedIn. To do this, it would ask for permission to connect to your email account, your Gmail, your Yahoo, your corporate Outlook. This was the gateway. With a single password entry, you handed over the keys. Once inside, LinkedIn would slurp up every single email address you had ever corresponded with. Then it presented you with a screen that would become the stuff of tech infamy. It was a long, scrolling list of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of your contacts. Each name had a little checkbox next to it, and at the top of the page, a friendly, helpful button. Select all, often. This box was already checked for you. The page was designed to look like you were simply identifying which of your contacts you'd like to connect with if they were already on LinkedIn. A harmless, efficient bit of networking. This was the great deception. You'd see the list, maybe uncheck your grandma and the local pizza place, and then hit the big blue Add Connections button at the bottom of the page. You assumed you were sending connection requests to fellow professionals already on the platform. What you were actually doing was authorizing a three-party mail marketing apocalypse in your name. For every single person on that list who was not a LinkedIn user, the machine kicked into gear. First, it sent a professionally worded but deeply unwanted email. Hi, contact's name. I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. Your name. It looked personal. It used your name. It leveraged your social credibility, but that was just the beginning. This is where LinkedIn elevated the game. From a simple spam tactic to a masterclass in digital nagging. If your contact ignored that first email, as most sane people would, the system would wait a few days. Then it would automatically send a second email on your behalf. A follow-up. Hi, contact's name. Just a reminder that your name is waiting for you to connect on LinkedIn. The audacity is breathtaking. They are now manufacturing a sense of social obligation on your behalf. You are now, without your knowledge, pestering your contacts, and the grand finale. If that second email was also ignored, they sent a third, 3 unsolicited emails, all pretending to be from you. Your name, your reputation, was being systematically used to harass everyone you knew into joining a platform. Let's chart this pioneering act of corporate malpractice. Cause, LinkedIn needed to achieve network effect dominance in the professional space and identified users' email accounts as the richest, most concentrated source of potential leads. Effect, they engineered a multi-step user flow that intentionally misled people about what would happen when they clicked add connections, triggering a relentless, multi-party mail spam campaign. Consequence, millions of users were acquired, cementing LinkedIn's market position. The backlash was immense, leading to the landmark Perkins v. LinkedIn class action lawsuit, which accused the company of effectively hacking users' email accounts to send spam. The meta commentary is that LinkedIn wrote the modern playbook. They proved that this strategy, while ethically bankrupt, was shatteringly effective. The growth they achieved was astronomical. They became an indispensable part of the professional world precisely because of the network they built using this tactic. The subsequent lawsuit and the $13 million settlement they eventually paid was, for a company of their size, not a punishment. It was a rounding error. It was the calculated cost of doing business. A tiny marketing expense for a campaign that yielded billions in enterprise value. Their success sent a clear message to every aspiring startup in Silicon Valley. This works. You might get sued. You will definitely make your users furious. But if you can survive the bad press, you will emerge on the other side with the one thing investors value above all else, a massive, locked-in user base. LinkedIn was eventually forced to make the process more transparent, but the damage was done. The genie of contact list exploitation was out of the bottle, and it was never going back in. They had provided the proof of concept. They showed the world that your address book was the most valuable, untapped resource of the digital age, and that users could be tricked into giving it away for the low price of a single misleading button. So, LinkedIn got sued. They spammed millions of people on behalf of their users. A court case ensued, and they were forced to pay out $13 million. Sounds like a victory, right? David landed a solid blow on Goliath. The system worked. Justice was served. The little guy won. And companies learned their lesson. A neat, tidy ending to a story of corporate overreach. Except, that's not what happened at all. Not even close. Welcome to the grim, farcical world of the toothless class action lawsuit, a piece of legal theater, where the grand prize is usually a check for $4.17 and a promise from the company to be more transparent in the future. The reason these lawsuits almost never work, the reason this behavior never really stops, is because the company defeated you before you even knew you were in a fight. They defeated you with the 80-page legal document you scrolled past on day one. Let's follow the life cycle of one of these lawsuits. It begins with righteous fury. Users, like the ones in the LinkedIn case, realize they've been systematically deceived. They're angry, they're embarrassed, and they want accountability. A savvy law firm, smelling blood in the water and a hefty payday, puts out a call for plaintiffs. A class action is filed. The headlines are great. Tech giant sued for massive privacy violation. It feels like a reckoning is at hand. The tech giant, in response, doesn't panic. It calmly activates its legal department, a legion of lawyers who bill at $1,000 an hour, and whose sole purpose is to crush litigation like this, and they come to court armed with the single most powerful weapon in the digital economy, the terms of service you agreed to. That unread wall of text, the one we all lie about having read, is a legal fortress. It was not written to be understood by you. It was written to be deployed as an unassailable defense. In a courtroom, Buried deep within its endless paragraphs are several beautifully crafted kill shots for lawsuits. First up is the star player, the mandatory arbitration clause. In many of these agreements, there's a sentence where you, the user, agree that in the event of a dispute, you will not sue the company in a public court of law. Instead, you agree to settle your differences through a private, binding arbitration process. This process is often chosen and paid for by the corporation, is notoriously secretive, and heavily favors the company. It's like agreeing to settle a fight with a casino, but the casino owner gets to be the referee. But wait, there's more. Often, right next to that clause is its evil twin, the class action waiver. This is a line where you explicitly agree to give up your right to join forces with other wronged users. You can only bring a claim as an individual. This is a brilliant maneuver. A single person suing a multi-billion-dollar corporation is a joke. A million people suing together is a threat. By forcing you to waive that right, they effectively neutralize the only real power consumers have, collective action, and the final nail in the coffin is the consent clause itself. The company's lawyers will stand up in court, point to a single sentence in Section 14, and say, "Your Honor, the user explicitly consented." It says right here that by providing contact access, they grant us a non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, worldwide license to use this data to improve our services. The whole thing is a sham. Let's chart the legal absurdity. Cause: a company's deceptive design harms millions of users who band together to sue for damages. Effect: the company's defense lawyers successfully argue that the unreadable, non-negotiable terms of service which users agreed to by clicking a single checkbox constitutes a legally binding contract that preempts the lawsuit. Consequence: the case is either thrown out or, to avoid bad press, the company offers a settlement. The settlement amount, while sounding large, provides negligible compensation to individual users. The lawyers take a massive cut and, crucially, the company admits no wrongdoing. The meta commentary is that the legal system treats this document as a holy pact between two equal parties when it is, in fact, a contract of adhesion, a take-it-or-leave-it deal where one side has all the power. Expecting a user to read and understand a 30,000-word legal document before using a photo-sharing app is fundamentally insane. Yet, the entire legal framework of the digital world is built on this absurd premise. The TOES is not a tool for understanding, it is a tool for impunity. So in the end, LinkedIn paid its $13 million for a company that made over $1 billion that year. It was the equivalent of a speeding ticket. The lawyers got a few million, and the users, some reports indicate they were eligible for up to $15, but only if they could provide extensive proof, a process so cumbersome most didn't bother. The lawsuit didn't stop the practice, it just put a price on it. And the price turned out to be shockingly low. So if the courts are neutered by a document nobody reads, who else can protect us? Surely the platforms themselves, the digital landlords who run the app stores, must have rules against this kind of thing, right? So the courts are a dead end, neutralized by a legal document written in a dead language. But all is not lost, because every app on your phone had to get there somehow. It had to pass through the heavily guarded gates of the two most powerful landlords in the digital world, Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store. These are the gatekeepers, the bouncers at the door of the digital nightclub. Surely they have rules. Surely they protect us from the predators. Oh, absolutely they do. They have so many rules. They have entire keynote addresses dedicated to telling you how much they care. Apple, in particular, has built its modern brand on the bedrock of privacy. They run slick, minimalist ads where your iPhone is depicted as a digital Fort Knox, a silent guardian protecting you from the data-hungry monsters of the internet. Tim Cook gives passionate speeches about how privacy is a fundamental human right. They've waged a public war on ad trackers. Their entire marketing messages: we are the good guys, this is a safe neighborhood. And to enforce this, they have the legendary App Store review process. It's spoken of by developers in hushed, fearful tones. A mysterious council of elders who scrutinize every line of code, every pixel of design, before an app is deemed worthy of being placed on your phone. They are the protectors of the realm. They are there to stop exactly the kind of shady, spammy, privacy-violating nonsense we've been talking about, except they don't, not really. The fortress has a giant, spam-shaped hole in its wall, and the guards are conveniently looking the other way. Here's how the grift works. On paper, the rules are crystal clear. Section 5.1.2 of Apple's App Review Guidelines, for example, states that an app cannot use information from the contacts to send marketing or spam. Google has similar policies. It's an open-end shut case. Right, the apps we're describing are doing exactly that. They should be rejected immediately, but this is where we re-enter the funhouse of tricked consent. The giant loophole in all of this is the word unsolicited. The app's defense is devastatingly simple. It wasn't unsolicited. The user solicited it. They tapped the Find Your Friends button, and then they tapped Allow on the system permission pop-up. They asked for this, and the app reviewer, looking at the app for maybe 15 minutes, has no choice but to agree. The app did use the official, platform-mandated permission prompt. It checked the box. It followed the letter of the law, while gleefully tap-dancing on its spirit. The app review process is designed to catch obvious things: malware, pornography, apps that crash every 5 seconds. It is not designed, nor is it staffed, to conduct a deep, forensic analysis of manipulative user interface design. The reviewer doesn't see the social fallout. They don't get the angry text from your aunt. They just see a functional app that uses the operating system's tools as intended. As long as the consent theater is performed correctly, the app gets the stamp of approval. Why this willful blindness? Why do these self-proclaimed privacy champions allow this to happen? Because their business models are deeply, fundamentally conflicted. Cause the gatekeeper platforms Apple and Google need to maintain a public image as protectors of privacy to sell their hardware and services, building trust with billions of users. Effect, they implement developer policies that look good on paper, but have exploitable loopholes around consent. They are financially incentivized to approve fast-growing apps, as they take a 15 to 30% cut of their revenue, creating a conflict of interest. Consequence, predatory apps flourish under their watch. The gatekeepers can publicly blame the bad Apple third-party developers for any scandal, while privately profiting from the massive growth and revenue these apps generate. They have successfully positioned themselves as the solution to a problem they are actively enabling. The meta-commentary is about the sheer, unadulterated hypocrisy of it all. Apple will fight a war with the FBI over unlocking a single phone, cementing their reputation as privacy crusaders. But they will simultaneously approve thousands of apps that use dark patterns to trick millions of users into voluntarily handing over their entire contact list to data-hungry startups. It is privacy theater. They protect you from the threats that make for good headlines while ignoring the slow, systemic erosion of privacy that happens every single day in their own stores. They've built a beautiful walled garden, and they charge a premium for the perceived safety, but they're not just the gardeners. They're the landlords. And they've learned that the most profitable tenants are often the ones who throw the wildest parties, trash the place, and annoy the neighbors. As long as the rent check clears, they're willing to look the other way. So, the courts failed. The gatekeepers have failed. The problem is now global. But wait, a new challenger has entered the arena, a regulatory superhero from across the Atlantic. Clad in a cape of bureaucratic legalese, maybe Europe can save us. The courts won't save you. The platforms are profiting from your demise. The situation seems hopeless, but then a new champion rises from across the Atlantic. A mighty regulatory force emerges from the halls of Brussels, forged in the fires of bureaucracy and armed with a 261-page document of pure, unadulterated legalese. Its name is the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. And in 2018, it looked like it was about to bring the entire data harvesting party to a screeching glorious halt. On paper, the GDPR was the kill shot. It was the silver bullet, the holy water, the tactical nuke aimed directly at the heart of the predatory data economy. It was, and still is, the toughest, most comprehensive privacy law on the planet. Its principles were a declaration of war against everything we've been talking about. First, it redefined consent. Under GDPR, consent had to be a freely given, specific, informed and unambiguous indication of the data subject's wishes. It required a clear, affirmative action. That means no more manipulative design, no more pre-checked boxes, no more consent buried in the Mariana Trench of a terms of service document. To get your data, a company had to ask you for it, clearly and honestly. It had to tell you exactly what it was going to do with it, and you had to say yes. This alone should have ended the Find Your Friends grift overnight. It also introduced powerful concepts like data minimization, the idea that companies should only collect the data they absolutely need to provide their service. An app that adds filters to your photos has no inherent need for your dentist's phone number, and it established the right to be forgotten, empowering users to demand the deletion of their data. A direct counterattack against the Roach Motel dark pattern. The tech world panicked. You remember it. For 3 months in 2018, Your inbox was a smoldering crater of emails with the subject line, "We've updated our privacy policy." It was a global corporate freak out for a beautiful, fleeting moment. It felt like the balance of power had finally shifted. The user, the individual, had been handed the shield and the sword. And then the lawyers found the loophole, deep in Article 6 of the GDPR. It lists the half-dozen legal bases under which a company can process personal data. The first one is consent, the one everyone was focused on, but the last one, subsection F, is a little grazier. It says you can process data if it is necessary for the purposes of the legitimate interests pursued by the controller. Legitimate interests, two of the most beautifully vague and exploitable words in the English language. This became the new battleground. As the dust settled, tech companies realized they didn't have to win the war for consent if they could just sidestep it entirely. Their army of lawyers began crafting a new argument, a masterpiece of corporate audacity. The argument goes like this, okay? Yes, we could ask for explicit consent to upload a user's address book, but we don't have to, because doing so is a legitimate interest of our business. Our service is a social network. Connecting users with people they know is not just a feature. It's our core function. Therefore, we have a legitimate interest in processing their contacts to facilitate this. It is the legal equivalent of a child holding their finger an inch from their sibling's face and screaming, "I'm not touching you, you can't get mad." This single phrase created a colossal gray area. The law says the company's interests can't override the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual, but who decides that? It's a balancing act with a corporation's thumb perpetually on the scale. Cause the EU enacted GDPR, forcing companies to obtain clear, unambiguous consent for data processing, which directly threatened the contact-scraping business model. Effect: corporate legal teams pivoted from justifying their actions through tricked consent to arguing that mass contact ingestion falls under the legitimate interest clause of the very same law. Consequence: the practice continues. Instead of being clearly illegal, it now exists in a murky legal twilight zone. The fight has moved from the user interface to the courtroom, where billion-dollar companies can afford to argue about the definition of legitimate for years, while the data harvesting machine keeps on whirring. The meta commentary is a testament to the immune system of predatory capitalism. You can introduce a powerful new regulation designed to cure the disease, and the virus will simply mutate. The machine doesn't break, it adapts. The lawyers find the ambiguity, the engineers recode the justification pop-ups, and the business model, which is fundamentally based on exploiting your data, carries on. The GDPR, our would-be superhero, didn't slay the dragon. It just forced the dragon to fill out a bunch of paperwork and claim it was breathing fire for perfectly legitimate reasons. So even with the world's strongest privacy law in place, the data has been harvested. The company has your contacts, they have spammed your friends, and now, with this treasure trove of social information sitting on their servers, they can start getting really creative. The initial spam was just the opening act. Now they can use your friends to control you. So the lawyers have found their loophole, and the data harvesting machine rumbles on. Legally justified under the banner of legitimate interest, the company has your contacts. It has successfully spammed your entire social circle, pulling in a fresh batch of users who are now going through the exact same invasive onboarding you did. The viral loop is spinning, but the growth hackers are never satisfied. Acquiring you was just phase one. Now, they have to keep you. Their new one metric that matters is engagement. Daily active users, time spent in app. They need you to open their app every day, every hour. They need to become a habit, an addiction. And to do that, they're going to take that treasure trove of data you gave them, your contact list, and turn it into a weapon, not for spamming others, but for controlling you. The primary ammunition in this new war is the push notification. A push notification is a terrifyingly powerful tool. It's a direct, unmediated line to your brain. It bypasses the noise of your inbox and the clutter of your social feeds. It materializes on your lock screen, demanding your immediate attention. It is a digital tap on the shoulder from a corporation, and when that tap on the shoulder uses the name of your best friend, it becomes almost impossible to ignore. The initial, clumsy spam campaign is over. Now begins the sophisticated, algorithmically driven campaign of psychological warfare. Your phone, which was silent, suddenly buzzes to life. A notification appears. Jessica Miller just joined app name. Be the first to welcome her. Jessica, your college roommate. You haven't talked to her in a few months. A small jolt of social obligation hits you. You should probably add her. You tap the notification. You're back in the app. The algorithm scores a point. An hour later, another buzz. Your contact Mark Chen just posted a photo for the first time, Mark from your old job. You wonder what he's up to. The notification doesn't show you the photo. That would be too easy. It's a cliffhanger. It creates a tiny, nagging open loop in your mind. The only way to close it is to tap. You tap. You're back in the app. The algorithm scores another point. This is just the warm-up. Now the system starts combining data points for maximum emotional impact. It uses location data. It uses event data. David Smith, Sarah Lee, and 4 of your other contacts are at the annual chili cook-off. Wait, what? The chili cook-off is today. Nobody told you. A sudden, sharp pang of anxiety. You're being left out. Everyone is having fun without you. All your friends are together. And you're sitting on your couch. This is the fear of missing out FOMO distilled into a single, devastating sentence. You unlock your phone, not even to open the app, but to text your friends and ask why you weren't invited. It doesn't matter. The notification has done its job. It has made the app the center of your social universe. It has made you feel like you are on the outside looking in. Let's be perfectly clear. This is not random. This is a cold, calculated system. Cause, the app's business model shifts from user acquisition to user retention, requiring new strategies to keep people coming back every day. Effect, the app's engineers weaponize the contact list by building a notification engine that creates a constant stream of alerts based on the real-world social connections and activities of the user as friends. Consequence, the user is subjected to an endless barrage of FOMO-inducing prompts. Their phone is no longer a tool for communication, but a fire hose of manufactured social anxiety, designed to exploit their fear of being left out to drive engagement metrics. The meta commentary is that the app has become a parasite that feeds on your real-life relationships. It doesn't create connection. It manipulates your existing connections to serve its own needs. Your friendship with Jessica is not a relationship to be respected. It is a social lever to be pulled. To increase your time in app, the app has turned your friends into unwitting, unpaid content creators for your personalized anxiety feed. They don't know that their every action joining the app, making a post, checking into a location is being repurposed and used to psychologically prod you. The spam that annoyed your aunt was crude but honest in its own way. It was a clear attempt to get her to sign up. This is far more insidious. This is a system designed to make you feel perpetually insecure and out of the loop, positioning the app as the only possible solution to that feeling. It's a protection racket where the mobster is also the one setting the fires, and this constant, manufactured urgency isn't a bug in the system, it's the product of a deep, cynical understanding of a very real and very powerful human fear. This constant, nagging feeling of being left out. This fire hose of manufactured social anxiety that your phone has become. It is not an accident. It is not a side effect. It is a feature, meticulously designed and ruthlessly implemented by people who understand your brain better than you do. The entire business model, from that very first Find Your Friends button to the endless stream of notifications, is built upon the deliberate exploitation of one of the most powerful and primal fears, hardwired into the human psyche, the fear of being left out. This isn't some silly, modern anxiety invented by millennials. FOMO is a survival instinct. Let's get anthropological for a second. For 99% of human history, we lived in small, tightly knit tribes. In that environment, being in the know was a matter of life and death. Knowing where the good berry patch was, knowing about the approaching rival tribe, being included in the hunt that was survival, being ostracized, being left out of the loop, was a death sentence. Your brain is therefore hardwired with a profound, visceral aversion to social exclusion. It is a deeply rooted panic button, and the growth hackers, the user experience designers, the product managers of Silicon Valley, they know exactly where that button is, and their job is to push it over and over again. Let's go back to the beginning, to that onboarding screen. The app doesn't just say, "Would you like to upload your contacts?" That's a neutral question. Instead, it says, "See who you already know on app name." This is a masterstroke of psychological manipulation. It's not a question. It's a challenge. It immediately plants a seed of doubt in your mind. Who is here? What conversations are happening without me? What am I missing? The app creates a state of social anxiety and then immediately presents itself as the cure. The only way to soothe that nagging fear, to close that open loop, is to tap the button. They are selling you a solution to a problem they invented seconds earlier. Then, they amplify this with a phenomenon known as social proof. Humans are herd animals. When we are uncertain, we look to others for cues on how to behave. The app leverages this by telling you, 17 of your friends are already here. This is not an innocent piece of information. This is a powerful psychological nudge. It communicates a simple, devastating message. The party has already started. Everybody cool is already here. And you are late. The socially correct, safe, and normal thing to do is to join them immediately. Resisting the urge to upload your contacts now feels like actively choosing to be a social outcast. This is the psychology of the forced connection. It's a two-stage trick to get you to spam everyone you know. First, they use the fear of your exclusion to get you to upload your contacts. Then, as we saw with LinkedIn, they use your social credibility to send invites. Preying on your friends' FOMO to get them to join, you are tricked into tricking your friends. It's a pyramid scheme of manufactured anxiety. Let's break down this cycle of emotional exploitation. Cause: app designers, deeply versed in behavioral psychology, recognize that the primal fear of social exclusion, FOMO, is a far more powerful motivator than a simple list of product features. Effect: they design an onboarding flow and engagement strategy that intentionally trigger this fear, framing the act of handing over personal data not as a privacy trade-off, but as an urgent and necessary step to maintain social standing. Consequence: the user's decision-making process is hijacked by emotion. They are not making a rational choice. They are reacting to a manufactured threat. This results in them giving away more data and more attention than they ever would have otherwise, all to soothe an anxiety the app itself created. The meta commentary here is about the profound ethical rot at the center of this design philosophy. It is a business model built on making you feel bad. Its success is not measured by how happy or productive or connected you feel, but by how effectively it can provoke and then monetize your insecurities. It's a machine that runs on a fuel of low-grade, perpetual anxiety. They have taken a fundamental aspect of human connection, the desire to belong, and turned it into a weapon to be used against us for the purpose of hitting a quarterly engagement target. You uploaded your contacts not just for convenience, you did it because on a deep, subconscious level, a very clever interface made you feel like you had to. You gave them the raw material, the names and numbers of the people you trust, and they used it to build a psychological cage, customized just for you. But what else are they doing with that raw material? Where does that list of names, emails, and phone numbers actually go after? It's been used to spam your friends and manipulate you, Bo. It's just getting started. You thought the spam was the worst part. You thought the endless, anxiety-inducing notifications were the end game. How naive. That was all just the opening act. The company has used your contact list to grow its user base and to keep you hooked. It has squeezed all the primary value out of the data you so generously provided. So, what happens now? Do they just keep that list on their servers, a fond memento of their brilliant growth strategy? Of course not. Data that isn't being monetized is a wasted asset. And in Silicon Valley, a wasted asset is a cardinal sin. So now begins the final, ultimate betrayal. Your address book, that deeply personal collection of human relationships, is about to be packaged, bundled, and sold on the open market. Welcome to the terrifying, multi-billion-dollar shadow economy of the data broker. You've probably never heard of companies like Axiom, Epsilon, or CoreLogic. They don't have fun, minimalist apps. They don't run Super Bowl commercials. They are deliberately, profoundly invisible, and they are the puppet masters of the digital world. Data brokers are information wholesalers. Their business is to know everything about everyone. They slurp up data from every conceivable source: public records, credit card companies, warranty registrations, online surveys, and of course, from apps just like the one you downloaded. Here's how your personal address book becomes a hot commodity. The app company, sitting on its mountain of contact lists from millions of users, needs a new revenue stream. Their privacy policy, that masterpiece of legal misdirection, probably has a line that says they don't sell your personal data, but it almost certainly has another, fuzzier line about sharing data with trusted third-party partners for analytics and marketing purposes. Sharing with partners is the clean, corporate euphemism for selling to data brokers. So, your contact list is quietly transferred to a broker. But the broker isn't just interested in the raw list of names and numbers. That's amateur hour. They are in the business of data enrichment. This is a sterile, technical term for a horrifyingly invasive process. They take the phone number for your leaky sync guy that you provided and cross-reference it against their own colossal databases in milliseconds. They can match that number to a name, a home address, an estimated income, a credit score, political affiliation, purchasing habits, and a list of recent life events. The same thing happens for every single person in your address book. Your mom, your boss, your ex. The data you gave the app, their name and number, becomes the key that unlocks a vast trove of other Information about them. Your single act of clicking allow has provided the missing piece of the puzzle for the data broker, connecting a person's offline identity to their online activities. Let's map this journey into the data underworld. Cause the app company seeks to maximize its profits by creating a secondary revenue stream from the massive data asset it has acquired from its users. Effect, they establish a data sharing partners hip with a third-party data broker, transferring millions of user-provided contact lists into the opaque, unregulated data market. Consequence, your private contact information and that of everyone you know is laundered, enriched with dozens of other data points and packaged into detailed consumer profiles. These profiles are then sold to advertisers, political campaigns, insurance companies, and anyone else willing to pay, all without your knowledge or the consent of the people whose data you gave away. The meta commentary here is that you were not in a two-way relationship with the app. You were the first link in a long, dark supply chain. The initial spam and the FOMO notifications were just the visible tip of the surveillance iceberg. The real business was happening in the background, in a vast, interconnected ecosystem of data exchange that is almost entirely hidden from public view. This is the ultimate consequence of the Find Your Friends button. You didn't just annoy your aunt. You unwillingly entered her into a permanent, commercial surveillance database from which she can likely never escape. You have violated the privacy of every single person you know, and here's the most chilling part. This process doesn't just enrich profiles of people who are already online. It creates new ones. Think about it. Your grandma, who proudly uses a flip phone and has never touched a computer. She has no digital footprint. She is invisible to the data brokers. Or she was. But you had her name and phone number saved in your contacts, and you uploaded it. Now, thanks to you, she's in the system. A file has been opened. Her name and number are sitting in a database on a server in Virginia, waiting to be enriched, analyzed, and sold. You have, in effect, created a digital ghost of your own grandmother and offered her up for sale. You created a digital ghost of your grandmother with one click. You took her offline existence and made it a data point in a corporate machine. You unwillingly became an informant against your own family, and this ghost, this specter made of data you provided, has a name in the shadowy corners of Silicon Valley. It's called a shadow profile, and it is one of the most profoundly creepy inventions of the modern internet. A shadow profile is a dossier that an app or a social network builds on a person who is not a user of their service. Let that sink in. This is a file about you on a platform you have never signed up for, created without your knowledge and built with data you never gave them. It is the ghost in the machine, and your friends are the ones who summon it. Here's how the haunting begins. You upload your contact list to our friendly neighborhood app. Your friend, let's call her Sarah, has actively chosen not to use this app. She values her privacy. She's not interested. It doesn't matter. Her digital ghost is born at the exact moment you hit allow. The app servers now create a new entry. It's not a user profile. It's a shadow file. This file contains Sarah's name, her phone number, and her email address, all from your phone. But crucially, it also contains a new, vital piece of information, a link. It records that you are connected to this shadow entity. The first thread in a spectral web has been woven. A week later, your mutual friend Mark joins the app. He, too, is presented with the friendly blue button. He, too, clicks it. His contact list is inhaled by the machine. The algorithm scans his list and finds Sarah's phone number again. It doesn't create a new file. It finds the existing shadow profile and adds to it. Ping, the file is updated. Now, the ghost of Sarah is known to be connected to you and to Mark. Her shadow social graph is growing denser, more detailed. The machine knows who her friends are, even though she has never told it. This process repeats again and again with every new user who joins and uploads their contacts. Someone has her saved with her middle name. The profile is updated. Someone else has her work email and her birthday saved in their phone. Ping. The profile becomes richer. The app is, in effect, crowdsourcing a detailed, intimate profile of a complete stranger, using her own friends as a network of unwitting spies. Why? Why go to all this ghoulish trouble to build profiles of people who aren't even your customers? For two brutally effective reasons. First, it allows for terrifyingly effective marketing. When the app eventually decides to target Sarah with an ad on some other platform, it won't be a generic ad. It will be a precision-guided missile of social pressure. The ad can say, David, Mark, Jessica, and 12 other people you know are on app name. Don't miss out on what they're sharing. The social proof is weaponized before she even signs up. She is made to feel left out of a party she never even knew was happening. Second, and this is the masterstroke, it ensures that if she ever does surrender and join, her onboarding experience is instantaneous and magical. The moment Sarah signs up with her phone number, the app can cross-reference it with its shadow database. It pulls up the file it's been building on her for months, maybe years, within seconds of joining. The app proudly proclaims, "Welcome, Sarah, we've already found 15 of your friends." It feels seamless, it feels brilliant, it feels like the app just knows you, but it's a magic trick. The app isn't finding her friends in that moment. It's just revealing the surveillance it has been conducting on her all along. This creates an immediate, powerful sense of belonging, locking her into the network from the first click. Let's chart this act of spectral surveillance. Cause a company wants to make its marketing to non-users more potent, and its onboarding for new users as frictionless and sticky as possible. Effect, they repurpose the contact data uploaded by their users to build, aggregate, and enrich shadow profiles of people who have never used or consented to their service. Consequence, the very concept of privacy is turned inside out. A person's data profile is no longer something they create. It's something that is created about them by others. Your privacy is no longer in your own hands. It is held captive by the data sharing habits of everyone you know. The meta commentary is that this practice obliterates any meaningful definition of consent. You cannot consent to a process you do not know is happening. Sarah actively chose to stay away, but that choice was rendered meaningless. Her digital identity was constructed by proxy. This is the ultimate expression of tech arrogance, the belief that everyone is a potential user. And if they're not on your platform yet, they are simply a user in waiting a ghost to be cataloged, until the day they finally materialize. So, what happens when a company is caught red-handed building these creepy, non-consensual ghost profiles when the journalists and regulators come knocking? Surely, this is a bridge too far. This is when the company has to stand up, take responsibility, and issue a sincere apology, right? A company gets caught building secret, non-consensual dossiers on millions of people. The media is in a frenzy. Users are deleting their accounts in droves. This is it. This is the moment of reckoning, the time for a sincere, heartfelt apology. The CEO will surely step up, take responsibility, and promise to dismantle the systems that led to this crisis. Right, oh, you beautiful, trusting soul. No, that is not what happens. What happens next is a masterclass in corporate damage control. A carefully choreographed performance of contrition, so devoid of actual substance it could achieve orbit. Welcome to the Corporate We Hear You tour. A beautifully crafted non-apology that promises more transparency, while changing absolutely nothing of consequence. It's a 3-act play, and it almost never deviates from the script. Act 1, the initial misdirection. The first 24 hours. A journalist from a major publication breaks the story. The company's stock price wobbles. The first public statement is released, usually from an anonymous PR spokesperson. It will be a masterpiece of saying nothing. It will read something like, "We take our users' privacy very seriously. Our platform is designed to help people connect and share. Features that use contacts are intended to help users find people they may know and create a more relevant experience." Notice the tactic. They don't address the accusation, the shadow profiles. They simply restate the feature's original, benevolent marketing pitch. It's a classic deflection, designed to muddy the waters and buy time. Act 2, the CEO's heartfelt blog post. When Act 1 fails to quell the outrage, it's time to bring out the big guns. The founder or CEO, probably wearing a thoughtful-looking sweater, publishes a post on the company's official blog. The title will be something like "Doing Better" or "Our Commitment to You." This post is the heart of the non-apology. Let's dissect the language, because every word is chosen by a team of lawyers. First, you'll see the glorious passive voice. Mistakes were made. Never, ever, we made mistakes. This linguistic gymnastics is crucial. It acknowledges an error occurred without assigning any agency to the company itself. The mistake just materialized out of thin air. Next, they will reframe the problem as a failure of communication, not a failure of ethics. We realize that we failed to be clear about how this feature works. This is brilliant. The problem wasn't the creepy, systemic surveillance. The problem was that they didn't explain the creepy, systemic surveillance clearly enough. The blame is subtly shifted to your lack of understanding, not their actions. Then comes the promise of more control. That's why, starting next week, we're rolling out a new, unified privacy dashboard that will give users more granular control over their data. This sounds fantastic, but in reality, it is often just a complex new settings menu that puts the burden of fixing the problem back onto you. They built the leaky faucet, but now they're handing you a bucket and a wrench and calling it empowerment. And what's the one word you will almost never read? Sorry. They will not apologize for their actions. They will say they regret the confusion or that they are sorry. This has been frustrating for some of our users. Apologizing for your feelings is not the same as apologizing for what they did. An actual apology admits fault, which is a legal nightmare. Act 3. The sacrificial tweak. To complete the performance, the company will announce a small, highly visible change. They'll tweak the UI. Maybe the Find Friends button is now gray instead of blue. Maybe they'll add an extra pop-up with a bit more text. This is a token sacrifice to the gods of public relations. It's a cosmetic fix that makes it look like they've listened, while the fundamental, profitable data harvesting engine in the background is left completely untouched. Let's chart this masterful performance of accountability. Cause: public exposure of an unethical data practice creates a PR crisis, threatening the company's reputation and revenue. Effect: the company executes a strategic communications plan, issuing carefully worded non-apologies that use passive voice and frame the issue as a communication failure. To avoid admitting legal fault, consequence: the performance of accountability placates the media and the public. The outrage cycle moves on. The company successfully navigates the crisis while preserving the core, profitable business practice that caused the problem in the first place. The meta commentary is that the corporate non-apology is itself a dark pattern. It is a linguistic user interface designed to trick you, the public, into clicking accept on their continued bad behavior. It is engineered to give the illusion of change while ensuring the status quo remains. But this isn't just about PR, it's about liability, because these systems, built on a foundation of deception and data hoarding, don't just lead to mortifying social situations, they create a perfect five-star buffet for actual criminals. The stakes are about to get much, much higher. The corporate PR machine has spun its web of non-apologies, and the media has moved on to the next shiny outrage. The blog post is published, the cosmetic tweak is made, and the crisis is officially managed, but the data, that colossal, aggregated database of your contacts, your friends' contacts, and their friends' contacts is still sitting there on a server. It is a monument to a successful growth strategy, and like any large, unattended monument made of pure gold, it has started to attract a very different and far more dangerous class of admirers. The entire invasive system we've been describing, built by growth hackers to onboard users, is also a 5-star, all-you-can-eat buffet for scammers. The tools designed to exploit your social connections for profit are functionally identical to the tools used by criminals to exploit them for theft. First, and most fundamentally, the app has spent months conditioning you and everyone you know to engage in risky online behavior. Think about it. Before this, if you got a random, unsolicited text from a friend with a weird-looking link, your internal alarm bells would have gone off. But now, you've been bombarded with them. Your friend has invited you to join Zingerton. Your friend has shared a photo on Foodie Snap. Your brain, and your aunt's brain, has been retrained. You've been taught that strange, automated-sounding messages with links are a normal, everyday part of modern friendship. This is a gift to phishing artists. They no longer have to work hard to make their scammy messages look believable. They can just copy the format of the app's own spam. A text message arrives. Hey, it's Sarah. I'm running a fundraiser for my cat's surgery. Can you donate? Malicious link. It sounds weird, but it's no weirder than the 50 other automated invites you've gotten. The app has done the hard work of tenderizing the meat. The scammers just have to show up with a fork. But that's just the beginning. The real catastrophe happens when the app itself gets breached. And let's be clear, in the world of cybersecurity, there are two types of companies: those that have been breached and those that don't know they've been breached yet. This company, in its manic pursuit of growth, has created one of the most valuable targets a hacker could ever dream of: a clean, well-organized, and massive database of social graphs. It's a literal map of who trusts whom. When this database inevitably spills onto the dark web, the game changes from simple phishing to hyper-targeted, devastatingly effective spear phishing. A generic scammer sends you an email pretending to be from your bank. A sophisticated scammer, armed with the breached data, can send you an email that looks like it's from your boss, referencing a project you're both working on, and asking you to click a link to a fraudulent document. Because they have the social graph, they know who your boss is. They know your email. They know their email. They have the blueprint for your life. Let's chart this security nightmare. Cause: an app consolidates the social graph data of millions names, numbers, emails, and the connections between them into a single, centralized server. Effect: this server becomes a prime target. For hackers, the app's own spammy marketing practices simultaneously lower the security awareness of its entire user base. Consequence: when the data is breached, it provides criminals with a perfect toolkit for personalized spear phishing, CEO fraud, and social engineering scams. The trust between individuals, which the app first monetized, is now weaponized by criminals, leading to catastrophic financial and personal data loss. The meta commentary is that the reckless pursuit of growth has created a catastrophic security vulnerability for society at large. In tech jargon, they have massively expanded the attack surface. Every contact list they hoovered up wasn't just a marketing lead, it was a new potential point of failure, a new door left unlocked for criminals. The initial sin of the privacy violation is the direct cause of the eventual security disaster. They are two sides of the same debased coin. Your decision to click allow on a photo-sharing app has now become a contributing factor in a sophisticated fraud ring targeting senior citizens. The line is that direct, the company, in its non-apology, will talk about user security being their top priority, but their actions, their fundamental business model of data aggregation, made a mockery of that claim. They built the perfect weapon for scammers and left it sitting in a poorly guarded warehouse. So why? Why take such an insane risk? Why build a business on a foundation that is so structurally unsound and dangerous? Because in the frantic, desperate world of startups, the risk of a future data breach is nothing compared to the immediate risk of running out of money. So why did they do it? Why build a business on a foundation of lies, security risks, and spam? Why create a system that is so fundamentally user-hostile? Are the founders of these companies just cackling, mustache-twirling villains? Not usually. The truth is, in some ways, even more disturbing, they do it because they are desperate. They do it because the very system that funds and creates new technology is a brutal, unforgiving machine that demands growth at any and all costs. Welcome to the desperate gambit of the modern startup. Let's pull back the curtain on how these companies are born. It starts with a couple of bright, ambitious people and an idea. They build a rough version of their app, and they get some seed funding from investors. This is a small amount of money, just enough to hire a tiny team and keep the lights on for about a year. This ticking clock is called their runway, and from day one, that clock is counting down to zero. Their one and only goal during this period is to achieve something called product market fit and, more importantly, to demonstrate traction, to get their next, much larger round of funding, the coveted Series A. They can just walk into a venture capitalist's office with a good idea. They need to walk in with a chart, and that chart needs to look like a hockey stick. It needs to show a period of modest growth followed by a sudden, explosive, near vertical takeoff. This is the tyranny of the hockey stick. Venture capitalists are not looking for nice, stable, profitable small businesses. They are playing a home run game. They invest in 100 companies expecting 95 to fail spectacularly, for it to do okay, and one to become the next Google. To be that one, a startup needs to show signs of world-conquering, exponential growth. And it needs to show them now. So imagine you're the founder. You have 3 months of runway left. The rent on your tiny office is due. Your user growth is flat. The chart looks less like a hockey stick and more like a sad, limp noodle. The VCs are not returning your calls. Your dream is dying. You are facing utter, humiliating failure. And then, your head of growth, a kid who's read all the right blogs, comes to you with a plan. It's the playbook we've been discussing. A new onboarding flow, a friendly blue button, a slightly misleading permission prompt. He shows you the data from other apps that have done it. He projects a new growth chart. And it's not a noodle. It's a rocket ship. A beautiful, glorious hockey stick. What do? Do you hold fast to your ethical principles, run out of money, and watch your company implode? Or do you make a deal with the devil? Do you approve the dark pattern, trick your users, spam their friends, and live to fight another day? For thousands of startups, this isn't a choice, it's a survival imperative. The long-term consequences, the angry users, the potential lawsuits, the massive security liability of storing all that data. That's a problem for future, funded you to deal with right now. The only problem that matters is getting that hockey stick graph to show to the investors on Sand Hill Road. Your contact list is their last best hope for faking market traction long enough to secure their next lifeline. Let's map this cycle of institutionalized desperation. Cause the venture capital funding model creates a hyper-competitive environment where startups must demonstrate exponential growth within a very short time frame or die. Effect: founders facing immense pressure from investors and the threat of bankruptcy, feel compelled to authorize unethical growth at all cost strategies, such as deceptive contact harvesting. Consequence: the digital marketplace is flooded with apps whose core design is fundamentally predatory. A process of negative selection occurs, where the companies most willing to bend the ethical rules are the ones that secure funding, survive, and go on to define the norms for the entire industry. The meta commentary is that this isn't the problem of a few bad apples. The entire orchard is structured to reward this behavior. We, the users, are just the soil from which they extract the nutrients. Our privacy, our trust, and our social relationships are the raw materials being frantically strip-mined. In a desperate race for venture capital, the app that just spammed your ad wasn't necessarily evil, it was just hungry, and the only food that could save it was your address book. So this is the grim reality of how these digital monsters are created. But what happens when you, the user, finally wise up? When you realize you've been played and you want to take your ball and go home. You decide to leave. You decide to delete your account. That should solve the problem, right? You're out. It's over. Oh, if only it were that simple. The desperation of a dying startup forced your hand. A predatory business model spanned your friends and family. A shadow industry of data brokers is now selling their information. You have been played, manipulated, and monetized from every conceivable angle. You've had enough. You're done. In a final, heroic act of digital defiance, you decide to burn it all down. You are going to delete your account. You open the app one last time, not to connect, but to destroy. You feel a sense of righteous purpose. You are taking back control. You look for the button. It's not on the main page, of course. That would be too easy. You tap into your profile. Not there. Okay, settings. You scroll through a long list of options. Notifications, privacy, accessibility. Account. That must be it. You tap, and there it is. At the very bottom of the screen, in a tiny, light gray font that is scientifically engineered to be as unclickable as possible, it doesn't say delete account. No, that's the clear. To final, it says deactivate your account. And right below it, in an even smaller font, learn more about account deletion. Welcome, my friend, to the final dark pattern in our symphony of deception, the Roach Motel. It was incredibly easy to sign up, a frictionless slide into data sharing bliss, but checking out is a multi-level escape room designed by sadists. You ignore the tempting deactivate button, the digital equivalent of just putting a bag over your head instead of actually leaving the room, and you tap on the link to learn more. You are taken to a help page, a wall of text that explains the difference between deactivation, temporary, and deletion, supposedly permanent. At the bottom of this essay is another link to permanently delete your account. Please submit a request here. You click. You are presented with a form. You have to re-enter your password. You have to select a reason for leaving from a drop-down menu, a final, pathetic attempt to gather data from you on your way out the door. Then you hit the final button, delete account. A pop-up appears, pleading with you one last time. Are you sure? Your friend Jessica just posted a new photo. It is confirming you right up to the bitter end. You grit your teeth. You tap yes. A message appears. Your account is now scheduled for permanent deletion in 30 days. If you log in at any time during this period, your deletion request will be canceled. It is done. You have escaped. You have cleansed yourself. All your data, your photos, your posts, and most importantly, the contact list you uploaded will now be erased forever, except it won't be. The delete button is the greatest illusion of them all. Here's what's really happening on the back end. Your public-facing profile will, after 30 days, likely be removed, but your data is immortal. Buried in the privacy policy is the fine print. They will tell you that while your account is deleted, they reserve the right to retain certain data for legitimate business purposes, such as analytics, record keeping, legal compliance, or security. These are catch-all terms that can mean anything. And what about the most toxic asset? You gave them your entire contact list. That is almost certainly never, ever getting deleted. Why? Because from their perspective, it's not really your data anymore. The moment you uploaded it, it was ingested, analyzed, and aggregated. It was used to form connections on their social graph. It was used to build those creepy shadow profiles. It has been anonymized and sold to data brokers. It has become a part of the fundamental infrastructure of their system. Removing it would be like trying to remove a single ingredient from a cake that has already been baked. It's impossible. Let's chart this final, futile act. Cause a user feeling their trust has been violated, attempts to exercise their ultimate right of control by deleting their account and data, Effect: the app's design makes this process as difficult and confusing as possible. The company's data retention policy, hidden in the fine print, ensures that even a successful deletion does not remove the most sensitive data. Consequence: the user is given a false sense of resolution. They believe they have severed the connection and removed their data, but their social graph remains a permanent, exploitable asset on the company's servers, destined to outlive their account. The company itself, and possibly the Sun, the meta commentary here is on the myth of data control. We are sold a fantasy that we are the owners of our digital lives, but the reality is that we are merely tenants. The moment we upload something to a corporate server, we have effectively lost ownership of it. The delete button isn't a function, it's a courtesy. It's a placebo to make you feel better. The data itself is forever. Of course, there's a counter-argument to all this. A smug, knowing voice from the corner of the internet that says, well, what did you expect? It was all right there in the terms of service. If you're not going to read the contract, you deserve what you get. And there it is, the argument, the final boss of every online privacy debate, the smug, dismissive, conversation-ending trump card deployed by corporate apologists and tedious Reddit contrarians. Everywhere, well, you did click agree. It was all in the terms of service. If you didn't read the contract, that's on you. A sarcastic salute to these geniuses, a slow clap for this profound contribution to the discourse. The just read the EULA defense, it is an argument so breathtakingly detached from reality, so willfully obtuse, that it deserves to be encased in amber and studied by future generations as a perfect fossil of bad faith reasoning. Let's, for a moment, entertain this fantasy. Let us pretend we live in a world where reading the end-user license agreement is a reasonable expectation. First, there's the small matter of time. The average privacy policy is thousands of words long. A landmark study from years ago calculated that it would take the average person 76 full 8-hour workdays per year just to read the policies for the websites they visit. And that was before the app-pocalypse. Today, with hundreds of apps and services woven into the fabric of our lives, you would need to quit your job and dedicate your life to being a full-time reader of corporate legalese. You would have no time to eat, to sleep, or to actually use the services whose terms you are so diligently studying. It is not just impractical, it is mathematically impossible. Second, let's talk about language. These documents are not written for you. They are not designed to be understood by humans. They are written by lawyers for other lawyers in a dialect specifically engineered to be as dense, ambiguous, and impenetrable as possible. You'll find beautiful, crystal clear sentences like this: you hereby grant the company a perpetual, irrevocable, worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable license to use, reproduce, distribute, prepare derivative works of, display, and perform the user content in connection with the service and the company's and its successors and affiliates business. So clear, right? You now know exactly what you agreed to. To argue that consent is informed when it is contingent on deciphering a sentence that reads like a demonic incantation is utterly insane. It's like handing someone a textbook on quantum physics, asking them if they agree with it, and then claiming they're a qualified physicist when they nervously say sure. Third, and most importantly, it's not a choice. A contract is a negotiation between two parties. The terms of service is a decree. It is a non-negotiable contract of adhesion. You have to options. Click agree and grant the company the right to surveil you, spam your friends, and sell your data, or click decline and be locked out of the modern world. You cannot participate in huge swaths of social life, professional networking, or even basic logistics without agreeing to these terms. It is not a choice. It is a toll you have to pay. To cross the bridge of modern existence, to call this a meaningful act of consent is a grotesque joke. Let's be brutally honest about the function of this argument. Cause defenders of the current system need a way to deflect criticism from corporate malpractice and place the burden of responsibility onto the individual consumer. Effect, they advance the bad faith argument that the EULA constitutes a fair and readable contract, and that users who fail to read it are solely responsible for any subsequent harm. Consequence, the systemic, intentionally deceptive nature of the problem is completely ignored. The conversation is derailed from a necessary critique of predatory design and corporate power into a victim-blaming lecture on personal responsibility, thus ensuring the exploitative system remains fundamentally unchallenged. The meta commentary is that the just read the EULA argument is the ultimate intellectual dark pattern. It's a form of gaslighting. It's designed to make you the victim of a deliberately confusing system. Feel like you're the stupid one. It's a way to shut down debate by feigning a superior commitment. to personal accountability. In reality, it is a craven defense of a system that believes it is perfectly ethical to rob someone blind, as long as you first get them to sign a 50-page document written in Klingon that says it's okay. So, yes, technically, the permission to plunder your life was buried in there somewhere. But if your consent is so meaningless it can be obtained without you ever being aware of it, then it is not consent at all. It is a clerical error, a trick, a finely printed lie. So if the contract is a joke and consent is a sham, are we doomed? Is this just the price of admission to the 21st century? Or is there, somewhere out there, a different way? So, is that it? Are we trapped forever in this digital purgatory? Forced to choose between total surveillance or a life as a digital hermit? Is every friendly blue button a lie? Is every terms of service a surrender? For a long time, it felt that way, but in the cracks of the crumbling surveillance empire, something new is growing. In the shadow of the data-guzzling giants, a small, fierce resistance has emerged. Meet the privacy-first unicorns, a new breed of apps and services built on a single, revolutionary, and deeply heretical idea. The idea is this: what if, and this is going to sound crazy, we build a product that is so good, so useful, that people will actually pay us money for it. And then, because they are our customers and not our product, we treat them and their data with respect. It is a business model so simple, so ancient. It has become radical. These companies are a direct rebellion against the maxim that has defined the last 20 years of the internet. If you are not paying, you are the product. These rebels say, no, you will pay us a fair price, and in return, we will work for you, not for advertisers. Think of encrypted email services that charge a few dollars a month, or secure messaging apps funded by grants and donations. Their entire reason for being is to offer an escape from the data harvesting machine. Their approach is the polar opposite of everything we've discussed. They don't practice data hoarding, they practice data minimization. It's not just a legal requirement for them, it's a core feature. They brag about how little they know about you. Their marketing is a list of things they don't do. We can't read your messages. We don't know who you talk to. We don't store your contacts on our servers. We don't want your data. They achieve this through technology that the big guys could easily use, but choose not to. The gold standard is end-to-end encryption. This is a simple concept with profound implications. It means a message is scrambled the moment you send it and is only unscrambled on the recipient's device. The company in the middle, the one operating the service, cannot read it. Even if they were hacked, even if they were subpoenaed by a government, all anyone would get is a meaningless jumble of digital gibberish. It makes surveillance of the content of your communications impossible. But what about our original sin, the Find Your Friends feature? How do these ethical apps solve this without stealing your address book? It turns out there has been a privacy-respecting way to do this all along, through a clever bit of cryptography. An app can take the phone numbers on your device, turn them into scrambled, anonymized fingerprints called hashes, and then send only those anonymous fingerprints to its server to check for matches. The server can see if the fingerprints match, but it can never reverse engineer the fingerprint to figure out the original phone number. The app can find your friends without ever knowing who your friends are. The fact that this technique exists is the ultimate proof of the big company's malicious intent. They don't scrape your contacts because it's the only way. They scrape your contacts because they want the raw data. They want the social graph. They want the shadow profiles. They want the asset to sell to data brokers. The violation is the entire point. Let's chart the rebellion. Cause a growing market of privacy-conscious consumers, disgusted with the surveillance-based business model of big tech, creates demand for ethical alternatives. Effect: a new class of privacy-first companies emerges, using subscription models instead of data monetization. They build their brand on features like end-to-end encryption and data minimization. Consequence: these services prove that a sustainable, non-exploitative model for software is technologically and economically viable. They provide users with a meaningful choice, but they face a monumental uphill battle against the network effects of the dominant, free incumbents. The meta commentary is that these small, scrappy companies are more than just businesses. They are a living, breathing argument. They prove that the abuse, the manipulation, and the spam are not necessary evils. They are a choice. A better internet is not a utopian fantasy. It's a design and business model decision. It is possible to build tools that serve humans, not just use them. But let's not get too carried away. This is a David versus Goliath fight. If Goliath was the size of a planet and owned all the slingshots, these privacy-first unicorns are fighting for survival against the biggest, most powerful, and most entrenched monopolies in human history. And those giants are not about to give up their thrones without a fight. So, these small, ethical, privacy-first apps are fighting the good fight. They are the scrappy resistance. But the empires they are fighting against are not just competitors. They are the very landlords of the digital world. They own the platforms, they run the app stores, and they set the rules. And this is where the story elevates from a simple tale of corporate greed into a masterwork of breathtaking, galaxy brain hypocrisy. The biggest social media giants on the planet, the ones who pioneered and perfected the art of contact list harvesting, now position themselves as the stern, solemn guardians of your privacy. It is a performance worthy of an Oscar. After years of scandals, from Cambridge Analytica onwards, the dominant players like Meta, the emperor of Facebook and Instagram, put on their most serious face. They went on a global apology tour. They locked down their platforms. They created a labyrinth of new rules and reviews for any small developer who wants to so much as sniff their precious data appis. Their public posture is that of a reformed sinner who has seen the light and will now dedicate their life to protecting the flock from the wolves. A small app developer today who tried to build a feature that continuously sends a user's address book and uses it to spam non-users would be crucified. They would be summarily rejected from the App Store. Their Facebook API access would be revoked. They would be publicly shamed and branded as a privacy-violating parasite. The gatekeepers would make an example of them. And yet, what do the gatekeepers themselves do? What happens when you download the Facebook or Instagram app today? You are immediately and relentlessly funneled into the most sophisticated, A/B tested, psychologically manipulative contact uploading machine ever conceived by the mind of man. The hypocrisy is so profound it is almost beautiful. The very companies that enforce stringent privacy rules on everyone else run the biggest and most aggressive data harvesting operations on the planet. They will present you with a screen, find your friends, sync your contacts to find people you know. They will make it a persistent, nagging notification banner at the top of your feed for weeks if you refuse. They will use every dark pattern they now forbid others from using. It is the most exquisite example of rules for thee, but not for me in the history of capitalism. Why this spectacular double standard? Is it just a simple case of corporate cognitive dissonance? Of course not. It is a cold, calculated, and brilliant business strategy. They are pulling up the ladder behind them. Think about it. The giants use these hyper-aggressive, ethically bankrupt growth hacks to achieve their unassailable monopoly positions. They scraped every contact, mapped every social graph, and exploited every network effect when the rules were loose and no one was watching. Now, having reached the top of the mountain, they have conveniently found religion. They have become privacy conscious. And in the name of protecting the user, they now deny the next generation of startups access to the very same tools and growth levers they use to become dominant. Let's break down this strategic hypocrisy. Cause the dominant, incumbent platforms face intense public and regulatory pressure over their historical privacy abuses, forcing them to adopt a public pro-privacy stance. Effect, they enact and enforce strict privacy rules on the smaller, third-party developers in their ecosystem, while simultaneously exempting their own products from the spirit, if not the letter, of these same rules. Consequence, this creates a deeply anti-competitive environment. The giants use privacy as a virtuous-sounding excuse to build a moat around their empires, preventing any potential challenger from achieving the viral growth necessary to threaten their dominance. The game is rigged. The meta commentary is that this is the final, most cynical stage of a monopoly. The arsonist who burned down the whole forest to build his castle now gets to rebrand himself as the chief fire warden, and his first act is to ban anyone else from owning matches. It's not about protecting you. It has never been about protecting you. It is about protecting their market share. They are weaponizing the language of privacy to crush their competition. And this has a real effect on the ecosystem. With the main gates to the social graph now guarded by these hypocritical dragons, smaller, desperate apps are forced to get even scrappier, even more aggressive. If they can't get data from the big platforms, they have to get it from you, the user, even more forcefully. The spam doesn't stop. It just gets passed down the line, cascading through the network in a desperate, unstoppable chain reaction. The gatekeepers have pulled up the ladder, leaving the smaller apps to fend for themselves in a brutal marketplace. This doesn't stop the spam. It makes it more desperate. It makes it more virulent. The result is not a cleaner ecosystem, but a more chaotic one. The privacy violation doesn't stay contained. It metastasizes. It spreads. Your single, solitary click doesn't just cause a small, localized splash. It triggers a tsunami. Welcome to the 6 degrees of spam vitation. It is a social contagion, a marketing plague, an unstoppable digital pyramid scheme with your address book at its foundation. Let's do some horrifyingly simple math. You download the hot new app. You have, let's say, a modest 500 contacts on your phone, a mix of friends, family, colleagues, and plumbers you used once. You fall for the manipulative onboarding. You click allow. The spam kraken awakens and fires off 500 invitations in your name. That's generation 1 now. Let's be conservative. Let's say that out of those 500 people, only a small fraction, say 10%, are intrigued or annoyed or confused enough to actually sign up. That's 50 new users, 50 more souls for the machine. Each of those 50 people is then immediately put through the exact same high-pressure sales funnel. Each of them is tricked or cajoled into uploading their contacts. Let's assume they also each have 500 unique contacts. What happens next? 50 new users, each spamming 500 new people. That is 25,000 new invitations. Generation 2. From your one click, we have gone from 500 unwanted messages to 25,000. The blast radius has expanded exponentially. Now, the cycle repeats. Of those 25,000 people who just got an invite, let's say 10% of them also sign up. That's 2,500 new users. The machine purrs. It prompts each of them to upload their 500 contacts. That is another 1.25 million invitations. Generation 3. In 3 short steps, your single, seemingly insignificant decision has resulted in over 1 million spam messages being blasted across the network. It is a chain reaction of annoyance, a cascading failure of privacy. The famous 6 degrees of separation theory posits that you are connected to anyone on Earth through a chain of 6 acquaintances. This is its dark reflection. Your click has the potential to pester a significant fraction of your country's population within 6 viral hops. This isn't just a theoretical model. This is the lived experience of the last decade. It's why, when a new app starts to take off, it feels like it's suddenly everywhere at once. You don't just get one invite. You get an invite from your cousin on Monday. On Tuesday, 2 of your work colleagues are suddenly on it. By Friday, you get an invite from your dentist. The app begins to feel inevitable. The sheer volume of spam creates its own powerful social proof. The message is no longer just your friend is on this app. The message becomes the entire world is on this app. And you are being left behind. Let's chart the viral cascade. Cause, the app's growth engine is designed as a pyramid scheme, where each user is incentivized or tricked into recruiting a new, larger base of users from their personal contacts. Effect, the number of invitations grows exponentially. Not linearly, the spam spreads through the social graph like a contagion, rapidly saturating entire communities and social circles. Consequence, the app achieves a state of manufactured ubiquity. This creates overwhelming social pressure and FOMO, which becomes the primary driver of new sign-ups, thus fueling the next wave of the pyramid scheme. The distinction between a genuine recommendation and automated spam is completely erased. The meta commentary is that this is a colonization of our social lives. A truly viral idea spreads because it has inherent value. A product with a parasitic growth loop spreads because it has a ruthlessly effective infection mechanism. It is using the pre-existing pathways of human trust and friendship not to create a community, but to conquer a territory. Your social circle has been weaponized, turned into a transmission vector for a marketing virus whose only purpose is its own replication. And you, patient zero in your own little outbreak, are left in the middle of it all. You are watching a fire you accidentally started burn its way through your entire social landscape. This has been happening for years now with app after app. This endless cycle of invasion, spam, and manipulation, and living through that. Being subjected to this constant, low-grade digital warfare, it has to change us, right? It has to change how we think about privacy, trust, and the little glowing rectangles in our pockets. This relentless cascade of spam, this endless symphony of dark patterns, this constant, low-grade war for our data has been the background radiation of our lives for the better part of 2 decades. So how has it changed us? How have we, as a society, adapted to living in a state of perpetual, low-grade digital siege? The answer is grim. It hasn't made us stronger. It hasn't made us wiser. It has simply made us numb. It has trained us, broken us in, and conditioned us. We have, slowly, gradually, and without ever making a conscious decision, learn to stop worrying and love the spam. We are the frog, and the water has been brought to a rolling boil so gently that we never thought to jump. Let's cast our minds back to the primordial ooze of the early internet, People were cagey, paranoid. You guarded your email address like it was a state secret. You used pseudonyms on forums. The idea of voluntarily uploading your entire private address book, the names and numbers of your mother, your children, your doctor to some strange new program run by a 20-year-old in a hoodie would have been seen as an act of profound irreversible insanity. The default expectation was privacy. The default posture was suspicion. The water was cool and clear. Then, the heat was turned on, just a single degree at a time. The first big social network asked to import your contacts from your email. To make it easier to find friends, it seemed novel, a little weird, but maybe okay. Then LinkedIn did it, but more aggressively. Then the smartphone arrived, and suddenly every app on your phone, the game, the photo editor, the weather app was asking for the same thing. Each time a new app asked, the request seemed a little less shocking. Each tap on that allow button was a tiny concession, another degree added to the water. The first time, it felt like a violation. The 100th time, it felt like a chore. The 1,000th time, it felt like nothing at all. It was just another box to tick, another screen to swipe away on the path to whatever little dopamine hit the app was promising. And now, here we are. The water is boiling, and our collective response is a weary shrug. The sense of outrage has been replaced by a deep, systemic cynicism. This normalization has several key symptoms. First, there's the widespread belief that privacy is dead. This is not a statement of fact, it is a declaration of surrender. It is an expression of learned helplessness, a coping mechanism for living in a system you feel you have no power to change. And it is, conveniently, the single most useful belief a population can hold for the surveillance capitalist. Then there's the intellectually lazy I have nothing to hide argument. As if this was ever about hiding. It was never about hiding. It was about control. It was about being protected from manipulation, from social engineering, from having your own psychology weaponized against you by a corporate algorithm. To say you have nothing to hide is to completely miss the point. You are a lab rat, and you're arguing that the maze is fine because you have no cheese to hide. Let's chart this slow, sad process of boiling. Cause, users are subjected to a constant, repetitive barrage of invasive data requests from thousands of different applications. Over the course of many years, effect, the initial shock and sense of violation associated with the request diminishes. Through repeated exposure, the abnormal becomes normal. Learned helplessness and cynical resignation set in. Consequence, the societal baseline for acceptable corporate behavior is permanently lowered. Companies are emboldened to push for ever more invasive forms of data collection, knowing the majority of the population has been conditioned to accept it as the unavoidable price of admission to the digital world. The meta commentary is that this was the greatest trick the devil ever pulled. The erosion of our privacy wasn't a singular, dramatic event. There was no cataclysm. It was a quiet, creeping normalcy, an invasion by 1,000 tiny cuts. They didn't need to kick down the door. They just knocked, politely, 1,000,000 times a day, until we got so tired of the noise that we just took the door off its hinges. And so we sit here, in the boiling water, scrolling through our feeds. We have been spammed, tracked, profiled, manipulated, and sold. Our relationships have been monetized, our anxieties productized, and we have, for the most part, accepted it. Which brings us to the final, damning question. After all of this, the lawsuits, the scandals, the privacy laws, the ethical alternatives, the lies, why is this still a thing? So, why, after everything, the public fury, the toothless lawsuits, the performative apologies, the security disasters, the emergence of ethical alternatives, why is this nightmare still the default? Why is the find your friend's Trojan horse still the first thing you see when you open a new app? Why does this practice, this blatant, systemic violation of our trust, simply refuse to die? The answer is one word. It is the answer to almost every question of this nature: money. It's not just money, but a very specific kind of money. A torrent of venture capital so vast it has reshaped the very definition of success. The friend spamming, contact hoovering, privacy violating machine never ends because it is the single most effective engine for generating the one thing this specific economic system values above all else: exponential growth. Everything we have discussed over the last 24 sections is a component in a single, self-perpetuating, and horrifyingly rational machine. Let's assemble it one last time. The machine is powered by venture capital, a fuel source that demands a 100x return and punishes anything that looks like slow, steady, or responsible growth. This fuel is injected into an engine whose sole purpose is to capture the ultimate prize, the social graph. Owning this map of human connection is the only reliable way to build a defensive moat. and achieve the monopoly-level dominance that venture capital demands. The machine's operating system. Its core ideology is growth hacking. This is the doctrine that provides the moral justification for prioritizing metrics over humans and treating social norms as bugs to be fixed. The machine's tools, its drills and its claws, are the dark patterns, the confirmation, the roach motels, the friendly blue buttons. These are the finely honed weapons of psychological manipulation, used to extract the raw materials, and the entire monstrous contraption is encased in a legal force field, a shield of terms of service, and corporate law that renders the concept of consent a meaningless illusion and deflects any attempt at true accountability. Each component reinforces the others. The VCs demand growth. The growth hackers provide it using dark patterns. The social graph is the prize, and the lawyers make sure no one can ever be punished for it. It is a closed loop. It is a perfect, self-sustaining system, and it is wildly, unimaginably profitable. The potential reward for successfully running this playbook is not just a successful business. It's a billion-dollar exit. It's a world-spanning empire, faced with that astronomical prize. What is the downside? A $13 million settlement. That's not a punishment. It's a rounding error. A few weeks of bad press. The news cycle will move on. User trust, as we've seen. Users can be conditioned to accept almost anything. Here's the grand, final, brutal equation. Cause. A hyper-competitive, venture-funded economy places a near-infinite valuation on owning a proprietor. Rise social graph, creating an irresistible incentive structure. Effect. Companies rationally choose to employ a sophisticated playbook of psychological manipulation, legal obfuscation, and viral mechanics to harvest user contact data at all costs, as it is the most proven strategy for success. Consequence. A permanent, systemic erosion of personal privacy, security, and user trust becomes the accepted collateral damage in the race to build the next monopoly, a new normal from which there is no obvious escape. The meta commentary, the final takeaway is this: the problem is not a bug in the system. The problem is the system. The relentless spamming of your contacts is not an anomaly. It is the sound of the machine working exactly as it was designed. It is the exhaust fume of the engine of modern digital capitalism. So why is this still a thing? Because the companies that do it get funded. They get billion-dollar valuations. They become household names. They win. And in a system that rewards this behavior so lavishly, it would be irrational to expect it to ever stop. The friendly blue button is not going away. It will just change its shape, its color, its wording. It will continue to lie, to nudge, to trick, and to harvest. And we will continue to click it, because the machine has taught us that there is no other choice. And so, we arrive at the grim, deeply unsatisfying conclusion that this whole invasive, manipulative, spam-filled mess continues. Because the financial incentives are just too damn big to ignore. The system isn't broken. It was built this way, and it's working perfectly for the people at the top. Now, a quick reminder, please do not take any of this as legal, financial, or ethical advice. This was a highly caffeinated, deeply sarcastic rant designed for entertainment. And it's probably a terrible guide for how to actually live your life, though it was almost certainly more fun than reading a 50-page EULA. So, what other modern, absurd, why is this still a thing? Problem should we simplify next? Let us know in the comments below. We're always looking for new monsters to dissect, and that's how that whole mess went down. Until next time, don't trust the algorithm.